now we will dive into our first discussion for the day. The integration of AI in payments, and particularly generative AI, marks a notable shift towards increased productivity and cost efficiency, of course. But how does automation through AI technologies really streamline back office operations and administrative tasks with banking institutions? I'm looking forward to the discussion with the head of Northern and Central Europe at Klarna, Dominic Hoffmann, and the managing director at Teachers Venture Growth, Ara Yeromian. Please come to the stage. Hi. Welcome over here. Good morning, good morning. Hi, hi. I'm glad you're here. Take your seat. I have to sit here, I'm sorry.
Perfect, sorry.
So feel comfortable. So let's dive into the discussion, actually. And let's start with e-commerce and fintech. Dominic, buy now and pay later actually changed a lot, of course. And on one hand, it democratized the access to small and micro loans. But on the other hand, also quite a lot, especially younger people, got into debt as well. This is the downside, I would say. So looking back, how would you describe the impact on your company, on the financial industry worldwide?
Yeah. So Klarna has been around since 2005.
Yeah.
And we're an official licensed bank since 2017. So we've been around for quite a while. But obviously, as we see the continuous trend moving from offline sales into online sales and adapting various payment methods in the process, and obviously providing a better user experience and also a certain level of flexibility to our end consumers. And then various products such as buy now, pay later started to have a lot of traction for that. And that is not only with young consumers, but also after the COVID period, we saw an acceleration actually, and our largest growing consumer group was the age 56 plus last year, because they really figured out, hey, if I buy online, the parcel arrives at my house, and if I use my trusted payment method, I'm safe kind of to use it. So we see an acceleration across kind of all age groups, adapting to various flexible products to adapt to their needs. This could either be which is still a large part of Klarna's portfolio, pay now solutions, but also the pay later solutions, where we have either the invoice product or a pay in 3 product. And we only have a very, very low share of fair financing products, actually.
Okay. Ara, managing around 7.5 billion venture growth capital arm of Ontario's Teachers Pensions Plan. How are you looking at AI-powered innovation at the moment?
So we are obviously, as another investor, quite interested in understanding the space and building exposure to our portfolio companies. But I think it's also important to look at our portfolio, the existing one,
right,
and understand how they're leveraging AI to build top line, to build efficiency, and bring profitability. And ultimately, as well as internally for our own consumption, as you know, we are a large pension plan with about 200 plus billion pension under management, with thousands of employees, and understanding how we can leverage the new tools, existing one, and the new ones will be coming soon, in order to make our job more efficient, our investment decisions just smarter. And maybe the way I think about AI for our portfolio companies, I think it's on 2 fronts. If you divide it into fronts, it's a bit of a simplification, but really it's on the internal side and external side. And if you look at internal side or internal facing AI, these are all the tools people are using for being more efficient, looking at improving internal processes, really trying to augment employees in order to give them the best set of tools to be just faster and stronger. And then if you look at the external one, which is also linked to internal, is usually chatbots. And I think, I'm sure Dominic and with Klarna will bring this up later, but it's about how to make the interaction with the customer just more efficient. And maybe an example, if I look across my portfolio today, fintech or not, they're either adopting one or the other or both. And an example would be Alan, which is health insurance, digital health insurance in Europe, and they've got about 500,000 members across France, Belgium, Spain. And they've been early adopter of AI. They've been using this for some time. And I think with the advent of LLMs and multimodal models, I think we've just seen acceleration of innovation that they're bringing across their organization. And just throwing out some stats out there, they've been able to reduce the use of their reps on the sales team in the time and interaction they have with their corporate customer by 48%. 48%. That is essentially doubling the number of interaction Alan can have with trying to sell his product to organization. And when you think about that innovation, it's on the preparation of the meeting, on summarizing the keynotes you need to have ahead of the meeting, is during the meeting, taking notes, assuming it's a digital interaction or not. And then after the meeting, the sort of post follow-up, resuming the conversation you've had and how you can sell that into an email that is sort of fit for purpose. And if you put that all interaction together, that's 48% reduction today, and imagine what they can do as you continue sort of in that journey of innovation. And the second tool, for example, again, this is internal tool, the reps. Now on the external side is the digital doctor that they're still testing. Obviously, it's a sensitive subject, healthcare and AI, but here they're testing tools in order to facilitate interaction at the beginning with the patient, helping the doctor, a little bit like a sales rep, helping the doctor come and understand and summarize, and then maybe the follow-up. And all of that at the end of the day is reducing the time that the doctor needs to spend on administrative work, but also interacting with the client and making, I think, saving time for both the customer or the patient in this case and the doctor. And this is, I think, sort of better for the cost of care. Yeah. It's better for the time you wait to be treated or seen by a doctor, which I don't know how it is in Germany, but in UK it takes quite a lot of time. And so this, I think, is beneficial for both sides, and the company and the patients.
Yeah, thank you for these examples for internal and external use. So at Klarna, how to what extent is AI already used for internal use?
Yeah, so it was quite an exciting time over the last 12, 18 months. We were the first global bank who implemented ChatGPT enterprise version. We were the first European bank to put out a plugin with ChatGPT. We're very closely collaborating with OpenAI. They reference us as one of the fast-moving and best-moving companies out there in the adoption of the process. But personally, I still think that is so early. The acceleration of changes that are happening right now is absolutely outstanding, and it feels whenever we touch base with our engineering teams or with other teams such as financial steering, for example, or our customer service teams, there's so much innovation happening on a day-to-day basis. I think one of the examples that we gave out recently was our changes that we adopted in the customer service side, where we were able to reduce and save costs by 40 million euros on an annual basis, where we gave an example that this would have been the equivalent to 700 people out of the roughly 3,000 who currently work on our customer services. And it's still that it needs to benefit the end consumer. So our end consumer, from the customer experience example here on customer service, they can still choose if they want to talk to a chatbot or to a regular person. But we just see that the interaction is a lot faster. The customer satisfaction is a lot faster. So this is a part of the business where we already use it with the interaction with our end consumer, but there's endless projects that we use on an internal perspective, how to accelerate processes, how to accelerate ways of working, how we build our own Wikipedia, how we train and manage processes internally. There's so much happening on that forefront, but it still kind of feels that it's very early, and the change is just accelerating, similar to what you just said, Ara, that it's just, we cannot even predict what is happening in the next 12, 18 months and how fast this hockey stick scenario on the AI front is playing out.
Just
really cool to
see. You can, you're right.
Reacting to what Dominic said, I think it's really important on the chatbot is, number one, you need to know that it is a chatbot. I think that as the customers or the patient comes into the journey, they need to understand it's a chatbot. And two, especially in case of healthcare, you need to be able to switch to a human as soon as they want to. And I think those are the two that are really quite relevant. And as you said, I think the pace of innovation is accelerating. I think we all realize, and we should, those who don't, that the tools we are seeing today, which are by no means perfect, and everyone is criticizing the tool, but just think about what those tools could be doing in 2, 3, 5, 10 years' time. And then you need to start adopting the right infrastructure, you need to adopt the right, the right set of quality data. And I think this is what most enterprises of all sizes should be aspiring to. If they're not able to implement AI today or the various tools today, what those tools will look like, what an AI agent, for example, will look like in a couple of years, and are you ready for that? And that type of, the bigger organization, especially financial services, takes a lot of time. These are slow-moving animals, and you need to build that innovation today in order to be able to leverage AI in the future.
Yes, and of course, and when it comes to dealing with money, especially pensions, this also has an emotional component, and trust is always, and transparency are very key elements to work with. So yeah, maybe you can just describe more, how was the journey like implementing these new approaches, and what was especially the maybe some concerns of your employees?
It's obviously multifaceted how this obviously was rolled out and how this all happened. But first of all, we're a Swedish bank, so we're regulated as traditional banks as well in the EU. So there was a lot of obviously regulatory steps that we needed to look after, GDPR compliancy, because customer data was kind of like key on protecting and making sure that this trust kind of stays up, by also still providing the best service possible out there. At Klarna, we have roughly 150 million consumers that we're serving worldwide. And we say that we have roughly 2 billion SKU level data, so product details, that we have like the pictures of the product, the naming of the product. So we know exactly what, for example, our consumers bought. So we have also a lot of data that provides us to utilize the AI tools that we're building on a larger scale kind of already. But similar to, as we had also some previous discussions on this data need to be in a certain format that you can actually use them out. Yeah. So a lot of the work that actually went in over the last 12, 18 months was around data architecture, or providing the right environment that these tools can actually be enabled, because otherwise, if you don't feed them with the proper data, you won't get the results that you kind of had out there. So there was actually a lot of teams who worked on this data architecture first, which is, to my knowledge, kind of like hugely unsexy. And obviously this properly needs to be in place for then the tools to be rolled out. So there needs to be a thinking in the organization that actually a lot of prep work needs to be done in order to utilize these tools properly to get the right results out there. And not just launch a chatbot and see what the consumer kind of puts in, and then you kind of recommend a product or a service kind of around this. So there's a lot of pre-work that went in, and that was adopted by Klarna very, very early on. Our CEO, Sebastian, who's been running the company for 19 years now, leaned into this. He met Sam Altman multiple times. He quoted it. He kind of said, hey, Sam Altman, we want Klarna to be your favorite guinea pig. And this is kind of what we've been playing for the last 12, 18 months together with OpenAI. We've been trying out a lot of things. We've been closely interacting with them on a day-to-day basis and gathering a lot of insights that have been building up over the last 12, 18 months.
Okay.
And asking a question.
Of course, but yeah, and then we'll ask you a question. Please go ahead.
How are you thinking about building AI, in particular LLMs, in-house versus leveraging third parties? In the case of not necessarily OpenAI, but there are many other tools out there.
Yeah, so as we are a regulated bank, we need to select this very, very carefully and see which data kind of needs to stay in-house and needs to be built up in-house. So far, the philosophy from Sebastian and from Klarna is that we focus a lot on engineering. Almost half of our workforce comes from an engineering background. So we have a lot of, let's say, firepower internally already. So that's why we try to build it a little bit more in-house and not rely on outside parties to really make a tailor-made experience for our end consumers and to adapt quickly to it as well.
I think that's the key, right? Like get tailored solutions based on what's out there. Ara, of course, yeah, like you just explained, software always has to be proven safe and functionally correct before, of course, using it. How do you make sure that an AI-driven software is ready?
That's a difficult question to answer. I think you need to experiment in a safe environment. I think you need to first build the tools what I've seen internally is anytime there was an innovative or new tools being brought to the front, being consumer lending like Lendable that we have, or on the asset money laundering Comply Advantage, or Alan on the insurance, is you test it internally. You test it with your employees. They can provide the feedback and you learn from it. And then when you feel like the package is good enough, and the good enough really depends on your sector and the regulation you're in. I think good enough could be seen in some companies at very low bar and testing and trying to see what works. Good enough in healthcare or finance or insurance, it's a different good enough. And when you feel it's good enough, you can launch it. You don't necessarily to put it out there and let the model just do the work. You can also help augment a human with the AI model in order to provide that interaction in a sort of half-half manner, right? And you don't necessarily have to. An example would be the doctor having an AI helping him sort of do some of the thinking and bring some of the right example, versus that AI directly providing the answers to the patient.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, having said that, how many of us have gone to Google to ask for a drug or a medicine or some symptoms, right? And the first three answers feels like it's the truth. We've all done it. So is that safe? No, it's not.
Although we shouldn't, but yeah, we all did it, I think.
There we go. So I think it's about what you ultimately what decision you're going to take as a person and as a corporate. And here in this case of my portfolio companies, I think they've taken the safe route. Because it's important, and I think they should. That's how it should be. Now, I think the AI tools are improving. I think there's a lot of now tools that are helping AI just be better. And as I said earlier, I think the tools today are pale in comparison to what we're going to get in 3, 5, 10 years. So until then, maybe yes, we should be erring on the safe side.
Yeah, and as Dominic already explained, when it comes to finding AI solutions that fit to your purpose, also collaboration is a big asset. So what is your take on that when it comes to finding the right AI-driven solution to choose collaboration as a tool? You
mean as integrating that software with the organization? I think this is quite difficult. I mean, a lot of us will be using a Microsoft suite, which would be then coming with Copilot, which I think we've all been testing within Ontario Teachers. So. I'm not sure if you're using that too as well for Klarna, and it's not perfect, but it's getting better. And I think here again, it's about education. It's about making sure every employee experiment with the tool, and is not fully taken aback by the pace of change that's going to take place. I personally, I mean, the younger, older generation is always harder on when you have too many habits to add another software, to add yet another tools that you have to learn, etc. And I think that's a barrier to entry that a lot of corporates will have to push through, especially on the older ranks. But what I'm seeing today, especially at Ontario Teachers and our portfolio company, is adoption is increasing.
But how do I find the right business partner? Can you give us an example?
Well, it depends what the end result should be. What area you're trying to improve.
From your experience.
In our case, obviously, we'll be looking to improve the pace at which we are sharing information in terms of collaboration. That's more internal collaboration, and finding the tool that can. Because I personally use maybe 5, 6 different areas in my job day to day to gather information. Copilot, which now I think soon will be launching a little bit more integration, which is entire suite, will be helping me collect some of that data. For example, I want to look at Klarna, what has been my latest interaction, what are the latest news, latest hiring, C-suite. All of that could come into me in, not today, but I'm assuming in 6 to 12 months, in a short time frame. And I have a summary, which is a little bit like the sales rep, will make me ready to meet yourself and your team and have a smart sort of conversation. And I think those tools will be the one I'll be looking for.
Let's also talk about challenges in funding. I think this is also a big issue to be considered when it comes to finding new solutions for the future. So after quite challenging times, actually funding became easier again for fintechs nowadays, being responsible for executing TVG strategy for direct investment in Europe. What significant changes and also opportunities did you observe during the last maybe 6 months?
In fintech in particular? I think what I've seen is, especially on the earlier stage, the founders are just much more aware of what it is to go through cycle and what it is to build a robust company and a robust business model. So this new cohort of fintech, which are now sort of slowly moving into sort of early, late stage area, are just smarter at building a team. Whereas I think in 2019, 20, you saw some exuberance, some business model that were just harder to build, and we didn't maybe solve any real problem. I think this has changed quite a lot. There's a bit more discipline in how you want to allocate and use your cash. Also, obviously, in terms of valuation and terms, but really about sort of what the plan should be, how do you, when the next funding round should be, and that is obviously great as an investor, because at the end of the day, I want to work with incredible founders to build incredible sort of industry-defining categories and businesses. And if if the founder is even more ready with the right set and the right experience, given what we've gone through over the last 2 to 3 years, I think it's just helping them build better businesses.
Thank you. Because we are unfortunately running a little out of time, Dominic, what is your take on that? When you look at your plans for the future, how are you looking at the market environment right now?
Yeah, I think Klarna has a very an ambition to become one of the top 4 retail banks here in the world. I think it's a very exciting time because everything accelerates at the moment. I think these times where everybody received unlimited funding is over, and then now you really need to solve issues for the end consumer. You need to be profitable because you will run out of cash and actually at some point. And this just brings a really, really exciting opportunity because this doesn't spark a ton of new competitors into certain fields, and it really lets you drive on the stuff that you're developing right now. And I think this pace will just accelerate. And then we will see that the ones who will survive just take up a lot more market share. And here we obviously want to position Klarna on being a financial provider in the future who really solves your day-to-day needs and gives you back more free time and more flexibility, because ultimately I think that's what the end consumer wants. He doesn't want to spend time on chasing his parcel. He doesn't want to spend time on chasing his payments or receiving the goods. He wants to have that settled on the side. He wants to have his finances in order. Whenever somebody offers a little bit more of a savings, it should switch automatically, and maybe there should be an AI reminder which wakes you up in the morning. So like, hey, you might save, I don't know, a couple of basis points on your mortgage. You want to switch? I can do that switch on your behalf, and then I can focus on
click yes,
on the stuff that actually excites me.
Maybe not first thing in the morning, please.
Maybe not
think about my mortgage then,
but
yes.
Yeah, overnight it just gives you something and refreshes maybe your personal budget, and then you can take decisions head on and then focus back on the stuff that you're actually passionate about, your family, your hobbies, or your job on a different scale, but you don't have to worry on your personal finances from that sense.
Thank you two so much for the insights you gave us.
Thank you
this
so
is your
much.
applause. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We have to go on.
Thank you.
So have a good time here at our festival, right?
Yes.